Hi, I'm Evan Rosen. I want to talk to you in this video about how best to find and hire a South Florida foreclosure defense attorney. I've been practicing law in South Florida since 1997. I've handled numerous jury trials, non-jury trials, appeals. I've been the president of a South Florida group of foreclosure defense attorneys. There's about 30 of us. I've been the president of that group since its inception, and I've been helping people defend against foreclosure since the beginning of the crisis. And as part of all of that, I have seen and I have learned a lot. And I want to relay from that perspective what I would do if I were in your shoes and I was looking to find and hire a South Florida foreclosure defense attorney. So right out of the gate, putting myself in your shoes, I think the best approach would be to observe lawyers in action. I've seen that, I've done it, and I think, though, unfortunately, it's just not practical for you to do that for a number of reasons. One, you'd have to know which lawyers are where on any given day, which is very hard to track down. You'd have to know whether they're handling a meaningful hearing or trial, or is it something more routine on any given day. And you'd have to know what to look for. So it's just not feasible, unfortunately. It's a great way, but I don't think it's generally feasible. So without that, what would be the next best start of a process to find and hire a Florida foreclosure defense attorney? I would start with an online review of Google Maps. I'm looking for lawyers to start the search that are in walking distance to the courthouse. It's a little novel, but generally speaking, the best lawyers are in court regularly. It's part of why they got to be as good as they are, is because they're in court regularly. And generally speaking, those lawyers want offices that are convenient for them. So they're walking back and forth from court multiple times per week. A couple of things to keep in mind here. First of all, just because someone is walking distance from Broward County, let's say, and they don't have an office that's walking distance from Miami or Palm Beach, does not mean they're not a great lawyer in those other counties as well. Generally speaking, great attorneys, especially in foreclosure defense, have smaller firms and they're in one county and then they'll drive to the other counties. So just keep that in mind. Another thing to keep in mind here too is certainly there are very good lawyers that are not walking distance. It's just that the great majority I've found over the years of lawyers in every discipline, trial lawyers, litigators, which is a lot of what foreclosure defense should be. If you're hiring a good lawyer, they're close to court. So next, I'm then looking for Google online reviews. I think you got to read this and do this, though, with a certain degree of healthy skepticism. There are savvy business owners and marketing people who will incentivize people to write reviews and give them, for example, a Starbucks gift card. And some of these people may not have any experience with the firm or have very minimal experience, and they're doing it because of the incentive and not offering any meaningful insight. So when you read online reviews, look for content that shows some experience with the lawyer or the firm, that you can read about what happened, the communication that took place, the results in the case is certainly very important. So you want to look for those things. You also want to keep in mind the number of reviews. Great lawyers in foreclosure defense generally do not have enormous practices. If you're seeing reviews with thousands of reviews and thousands of comments or even hundreds, I would be skeptical of that. Now that's today. As Google Maps unfolds over the coming years, that may change. But as of now, I would be skeptical of too many reviews. I'd also be weary of too few. So if there's just 3 or 4 or 5, that's not a good sign either. So you have to find the right balance, and that's going to change as Google Maps and Google online reviews become more and more used. Next, you're probably, if this is a new foreclosure case, you're probably getting a lot of stuff in the mail, and it can be a little overwhelming. But if I'm in that position, I'm opening every piece. I'm at least skimming everything I receive, if not reading it. I'm looking, first of all, for what appears to be genuine, heartfelt content. People who really want to help. There are some good people, like everything else, and there are some good lawyers and not so good lawyers. So I'm looking for a heartfelt message that I feel is genuine, and that's a little hard to judge from a mailer, but that's probably the first thing. The next thing I'm thinking is, if this lawyer is advertising and making the focus of their mailer about how low their prices are, I'm probably throwing those out. I'm probably putting those in a separate pile and ignoring them or just tossing them, because great lawyers have to work really hard to know your clients, the facts of their case, to know the law, the rules of civil procedure, the rules of evidence. It just requires a lot of hard work. And growing up in a family of lawyers and being a very hard-working lawyer myself for as long as I have been, I'm not focused on being the low-price guy. If that's what you want, there are people that do that. And the old adage, you get what you pay for, applies to lawyers too. So if I'm looking for a good lawyer, I'm probably ignoring the low-price guy. That's not what I'm shopping for. I'm looking for an excellent legal professional. This isn't Walmart. I'm not looking just for the low-price person. So that's something to keep in mind. So now you've gone through the online reviews, the Google Maps, the mailers. I'm narrowing it down to my top 3, and I'm picking up the phone. And I'm going to call the top 3, and I'm going to ask some questions. First of all, how many foreclosure cases has your firm handled? What are the success rates in helping clients? How about any notable trials or appeals that you can tell me about? These are things that should be readily available for most reputable firms. And you should be able to research that and verify certainly the notable results online fairly easily. You want to know also who specifically is going to be handling my case, and ask the same basic questions about how many trials that person's had or has had. What notable results for that particular lawyer that's going to be handling your case, and so on. Ask those same exact questions about that specific lawyer or lawyers, the team, which leads to the next question. Is it a team? Is it a single lawyer? Or is it a mill or an assembly line type operation? How is my case going to be handled? That's a really important question, because there are firms that handle them in an assembly line type fashion, and there are firms who handle in an individual basis or in a team approach, and I'm going to talk about in a second which I think is better and why and how we do it. But you need to know that. And you want to know about whether or not the firm is monitoring the online court docket, and you want to know about how the firm is keeping in contact with clients. What could you expect as a client in terms of updates or communication from the firm? That's very important. Communication is essential in an attorney-client relationship, so that's an important question too. So let me cover how we do that in our firm, these exact questions. We've handled hundreds of foreclosure trials, numerous appeals. Currently, our trial success rate is about 70% at trial. We're at about half or 50% of our appeals. We've had many notable trials and appeals, thankfully. You can read about them at evanmrosen.com/blog. We also have numerous successful judgments and orders and appellate decisions hanging on our walls, 3 walls at the moment in the office that are filled up. 2 of the 3 are filled up so far. We're working on the 3rd. You can see one of the walls, a picture on our website. And if you come in, there's a story behind all of these cases, and I enjoy going through some of those with clients from time to time. They're all fantastic, and they're all very meaningful. And God willing, whoever's watching this, if that's what you want to have a case dismissed or a successful result in that regard, that you may make that perch on the wall at some point in your case. But so we can give you specifics of which cases we've handled, notable trials, and so on. We can show you the results. Who handles your case in our office? So at this point, I am the lead attorney in the office. There's an associate, there's a lead paralegal, and every case is handled in a team approach, so that each client has an attorney and a team of people that know the case from start to finish. That is a vastly superior way I'm talking every email, every phone call, every hearing, every note, every motion, privy to all of it. Vastly superior to this assembly line or mill-like approach where there's a different lawyer at each phase. You have a lawyer in maybe the intro phase of the case, another lawyer as the case progresses, and then another lawyer for trial. And by the time you get to trial in that approach, that particular lawyer may not be aware of every detail of the facts of the case or the history of the case, which can be really important. I've had this issue come up at trials where most bank law firms will do more of a mill-style approach, and the lawyer that shows up at trial has no idea what's going on in the case, at least not personally, what was not involved or not at any of the prior hearings. So when a representation or an issue comes up about a prior ruling which could have an impact at trial, and the bank attorney, I've heard this happen, a judge that at that particular trial or hearing rather, the judge said this, this, and this is why they ruled the way they did in the prior case or the prior hearing. Or it may even be a prior case. And I get to respond and say, Your Honor, that's not correct. I was there. And Mr. So-and-so bank attorney was not. And this is what happened. And this is why the order was entered the way it was entered. And this is what the intent of that order was. So it's really, 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 it can be really helpful. Not to mention just to know various details about the case and a particular winning argument or theory that you might have come up with at a hearing that maybe didn't make its way into a note in the file, but you remember it because you handled it. So if it were my case, that's absolutely the way I'd want it handled, is the same team of lawyers from start to finish, not a mill or assembly line type operation. We regularly check the dockets. That's also really important because there have been times where agreed orders, quote unquote, get entered into the system, and we were never even notified of an order being submitted, much less that it was agreed. So that happens. Hearings get set without us being notified. So we check the docket every week. We are regularly emailing our clients, a minimum of once a month, to let them know that there's nothing going on or nothing unexpected at the very least, or if there is something going on that they need to know about. There's numerous events in our office that automatically result in an email going to the client, like a trial or a summary judgment or a hearing of certain kinds. Certain of these events will immediately result in a phone conference being set up or an in-office consult with your lawyer to have a meeting to go over what is going on, answer any questions, explain then our next actions, what we're doing. There are numerous examples of that we're regularly reaching out to keep clients in the loop as the case progresses. So that's the most important tidbits of this. Let me leave you with one last thing that I think is really, really important. You're looking to hire a lawyer to speak on your behalf, to sign documents in their name, their signature, but for you. And this is an illegal proceeding where your property is at stake. This is an extremely important decision. You have to have a tremendous level of trust in your lawyer. I often joke around that a good lawyer is like a professional codependent. They put their clients before themselves. They put their clients' best interests before their own. Barring a few exceptions, lawyers are supposed to do that. It's very unique in the lawyer-client relationship. And if you're a lawyer, you're not comfortable, your lawyer is going to do that easily, that they're not going to put you before themselves, then you got to keep shopping until you find someone that does. That's the way this is supposed to work. So trust your gut. I think as we get older, we tend to disregard some gut feelings we get it. And I watch my children around strangers, and they tend to immediately pick up on who they're comfortable with and who they're not. And they honor that. And I think as adults, we tend to disregard that to some extent. And I think in this type of decision, it's really important to honor that, pay attention to it, and if you're not comfortable, keep shopping or keep asking questions, and then make a decision once you are. So that's hopefully some helpful information. If you want any more information about any of this, of course, please feel free to give us a call, 855-55-ROSEN, and we hope you'll let the law offices of Evan M. Rosen serve you.